It's Monday night, it's RaceSpotTV. Welcome back here to Monday night Skippys. Round number 4 here at the Charlotte Roval. And we are live here on the track for some racing action tonight. Should hopefully be a great race. Just me tonight, Rachel Wyford, no Linus Brostrom for once. We have got Tyler behind the cameras. So looking forward to a very fun race here. It's been busy so far this season. We've had a lot of upset, especially Phillip Island, which was relatively chaotic, let's say. Looking at our grid tonight, it's looking pretty interesting. We've got about a minute or so left before qualifying is fully over. Although if I look at the laps, I'm going to guess it's a 3-lapper, so we are basically done. We're going to go straight to your qualifying order. Kane Halliburton coming home with the win. Oh, coming home with the win? Wrong way round. Kane Halliburton on pole today with a time of 1 minute 30.361. Behind him it's Adam Miles, Clay Hughes, Ewan Patterson, Michael Fielder, James McRitchie, Simon Edwards, Thomas O'Leary, Chris Robertson, and Matt Cox. Behind them, Mick Watson, Lee Anderson, Clark Williams, Daniel Tufts, Matt Hannigan, Christopher Miles, Paul Carey, Adrian Hendy, Jack Hobbs, and Nicholas Vaughan Roberts. The rest of those positions on your screen. We're going to hopefully have a very good race tonight. We're getting ourselves ready now on the racetrack for the racing part here. Everyone's starting to get their grid spots here as we get set up for what's going to be 19 laps of racing tonight. Our 1 second bracket takes us surprisingly not very far tonight. We're looking in the ballpark of 13 cars. So as far back as Clark Williams there for your top 1 second of drivers. Problem is, for some of the guys a little bit further back, well, they're starting, let's say, in a bit of an S-bend. The guys back in about 23rd place onwards are in the chicane, so that's going to be a busy start for them. Leader starting to come to the grid now, up towards the front. Halliburton getting his first pole this season, so should be exciting to see him in action around the Roval here. Weather's actually pretty standard at the moment. We're looking about track temperature of 79 degrees, 69 in the air. Wind about 8 miles an hour from the south, so it's relatively humid here in Charlotte. But we're looking pretty good for the race. It's cloudy conditions, so we should have pretty good traction here. And we are, of course, at the Roval here at Charlotte, so a few moments left here. As we're going to get ready now, just a few seconds left. Make sure the rest of those cars are finally taken to the grid. They'll be starting at the normal NASCAR starting line. About 30 seconds away now from that start here. I must say, it's been a while since I've seen Charlotte in the Roval, so it's quite nice to see it looking like this. Yes, I am out of touch. Pretty severely, as it seems. Engine started to rev up now as the seconds begin to count down. Getting ready for that launch now from Halliburton and Miles. And of course, big turn in here at the first corner of the road course, just after the kink of the start-finish line. Before they head into turn 1 of the oval, they turn into the in-course. Green flag flies and we're away. It's Halliburton, Miles, Hughes, Patterson, Fielder, McRitchie, Edwards, O'Leary, Robertson and Cox into that big left-hand turn 1. And now they'll start to cycle through the infield section here at Charlotte, and the race will really get pretty busy for us. Good first line here through the infield section. Big gap here for Halliburton already. He's really managed to pull a gap ahead of the rest of the field, just in that space of the infield. So a big sign of what might be to come. He may have already broken that toe, which will be huge for him. But of course, the advantage of the rest of the field being grouped up, we'll see exactly how that one will do. Through the chicane on the back straight now before they'll head through NASCAR 3 and 4. The gap already coming down there to Halliburton, so this early pull may not be enough for him. We've already got behind them. Simon Edwards is alongside the number 14 machine there of O'Leary. O'Leary looking to make that move. He's on the inside line, so it should be a little faster for him, but we've got Edwards at the inside. Should have that position nicely secured. Second group here in the race. Halliburton really not been caught yet, but Hughes looking to make a move there, or defending, I should say, against Patterson. We've got a breakaway there by Miles. He's going after Kane Halliburton at the front. Separated from that second pack. Closing the gap on the leader now. Second pack, just Hughes, Patterson, Fielder. Behind them, McRitchie in a bit of a gap before we get to Simon Edwards, O'Leary. Oh, near contact there between O'Leary and Edwards. Things getting very pushy on the racetrack. We'll keep our eyes on this one. But Thomas O'Leary looks to be really interested in getting that position, and his nose cone looks a tiny bit crinkled, as far as we can tell here from the cameras. Here we go, and once again, Halliburton still keeps a consistent lead here on the field. Really just broke that 1 second gap already. He's about half a second behind Adam Miles right now. But Adam Miles really isn't gaining as much on him as we might have thought. So perhaps the draft not as effective around Charlotte as we might have imagined. Coming out there and back up onto the banking of NASCAR 3 and 4. Bigger gap now between Miles and Hughes. That one widening significantly, about 2 seconds now on the racetrack, I'd probably say. As they come into that final chicane yet again. Lap number 2 will be coming to a close this time by, and Halliburton leading every lap. The gap, though, to Miles coming down much more rapidly. Second group starting to spread out a little bit more. We'll look a bit further back in the field. Got Jack Hobbs running on his own. Paul Kerry is coming up now with Hannigan ahead of him. Hendy behind them. Cowan, Tufts, Vaughan Roberts in that group. Oh, contact there. Just want to have a look back and see exactly what took place in that moment, but it was out of the final corner. And it was just ahead of this group, so I'm trying to work out exactly who that was. I am struggling to locate this one, so that might have been a me moment. It was a little bit further back behind this group. I think we just found it. Patrick Lofus being one of them. They come into the final chicane, and it's just contact ahead of Lofus, as contact made between the 31 and the 62. So that would be, as I'm trying to look for the numbers in my side screen here, which is apparently harder than I imagined. Mark Retford, there we go. That's why the number shuffled right down the line. Contact leads him into the outside wall there, as takes both cars out of the race. Up ahead of them, second group is still battling pretty hard, actually. Edwards still leading that field, although up to the high side goes McRitchie, trying to find an opening here to get himself some speed. No one going with him to the high side, so no attempt for a draft pass before the back section, the back straight? Yeah, wow, I'm out of touch with NASCAR. The back straight chicane wasn't going to be enough for them, as they're now coming to the front here, and Simon Edwards still doing what he can here to push this one forwards. But the gap really significantly opened up. About 2 seconds now between them and Patterson, which is a very big margin on a track like this one. Ahead of them, it's Patterson and Fielder and Hughes still as a 3. But Miles is right up at the back here of Kane Halliburton. So we may have a battle for the lead now with a lap car ahead, pulling over to the side. This one is going to come down to Miles and Halliburton at the moment. And if they fight, we'll have to find out exactly what happened with the group behind them, whether they'll catch up or not. Another matter entirely. But as it stands, Adam Miles got his crosshairs firmly fixed on the engine box there of Kane Halliburton's car. We'll see if the draft will have any effect here. They're really close now. It's within 2/10 of a second here on the racetrack as they come through NASCAR 1 and 2. That was the replay there with Kirkman and Hendy. You saw the incident there. Things definitely getting a little bit spicier on the racetrack, as we had a big one with those guys. That, a pretty tough one to actually get the read on, realistically, from what happened with them. But the sort of racing we've had a few times around this track. Typical contact, unfortunately, as the front now. Gap opened up between Halliburton and Miles. Not quite as close as they were, but Miles seems a little bit faster on the infield section. Perhaps Halliburton's car better for top-end speed. Fielder's now ahead of Hughes, I should say. Patterson rear of that group. Simon Edwards leading the second group back now, but I imagine more speed really from Simon Edwards. He really isn't pulling away today like we've expected. He's normally a front runner. Car really not feeling it for him at the moment. We'll find out probably after the race when we get a chance to talk to him, but not looking at the championship the way he might have done this season, so perhaps a different approach to take. Qualifying has not been his strong suit for the last couple of races. Behind him, it's McRitchie, O'Leary, Robertson, and Cox there. Up towards the front, Miles is once again right behind Halliburton, but just can't find enough room there. That car gets out of the way of Fielder. Hughes and Patterson come through as well in 1 and 2. There we go. Yep, side by side just behind them. Things straighten out yet again. McRitchie nearly contact there with the car behind him. That was O'Leary. Just made contact with the rear wheel there of James McRitchie in the 22 car. As we're on lap number 5 now, coming to the close of that, on to 6. The race really flowing through already. Miles and Halliburton still same separation, no real change there. Hughes back ahead of Patterson, and Fielder back to the rear of that trio now. Simon Edwards' group is starting to close up a little bit. Lap traffic gets out of the way, caused a little bit of confusion on the track out of the corner, but definitely not hugely in the way. But that's a big break for Simon Edwards. He's managed to really separate himself from that group now. Can he close in on the guys ahead of him? Clearly he is one of his rivals in this championship in terms of points, so beating him alone would be significant. The gap, of course, between the leaders and third, 2 seconds at the moment, and between Edwards and Fielder, just under 2 seconds. So there is a lot of potential here. Quite a few laps left to go. Edwards' gap is definitely looking more permanent, and what we've seen so far is the draft really isn't playing a factor here at Charlotte. Bit of side-by-side there we just had with Patterson and Hughes, but they've separated out here. Patterson now ahead of Hughes there as they head into 3 and 4. But definitely not been effective as behind them now, Leary. I believe we've got a crash on the racetrack. I'm trying to find out where now. We've got an incident on the back straight there, trying to work out exactly what happened and with who. I see the aftermath of it. So Leary we're seeing there. So we'll try and get exactly what happened for you now. And it's contact with McRitchie from what I can see here. As they were heading in following Simon Edwards. O'Leary gets sideways, gets clipped, I think, or nearly clipped by the 17. Goes sideways, 17 misses him, and McRitchie T-bones him, gets hit from behind as well by Cox. That is unfortunate timing, but the car's still out on the racetrack there, trying to peel back what he can from this race. But this has been a big breathing room now for Simon Edwards. Was clear of their draft, so he wasn't really benefiting from them anymore. But now, nobody breathing down his neck from behind. The next car is 3 seconds back, and that is the 17 of Chris Robertson, who is miles behind him in racing terms. Now Simon Edwards just has open track ahead of him, and the back end of Fielder's car disappearing off into the distance. He has the potential here to try and get a little bit closer. It's 1.9 seconds. Still quite unsurmountable, though, with the amount of traffic we've got going on here, and the draft abilities of the cars not really being significant unless we see a big fight. That won't change. However, Patterson, Hughes, and Fielder have closed in here on Halliburton and Miles. Halliburton still led every lap so far, but Miles is really just still all over him. Not changed yet. Not sure if he's holding or just can't quite find his speed, but you have to think he would have made the pass already if he could. Adam Miles still looking for that extra moment or a mistake from Halliburton to take the lead here at Charlotte. Coming through into the infield now, and Halliburton makes a bit of a gap here. Patterson closing in a little bit more now. Really brought that gap down. It's about a second now between Patterson and Miles. Hughes about 0.7 of a second back there now. So we're starting to see the front group really form up here. So whether it's been Halliburton holding off Miles or Miles just not quite able to get to him, we're seeing the group behind catching up now, which is a big advantage for them. The gap actually up to 3 seconds now to Simon Edwards. He's lost a second somewhere in this one. That's a big impact on his race. As we're about halfway through lap 8 here of 19. Mick Watson, a recent return to the series from times of old. He's running back in 9th place right now, started 11th. Lee Anderson just ahead of him, started in 12th place. So some big movement. Jack Hobbs as well, 19th to 11th. At the moment, big for the 3-6-1. We've also got Anthony P.M. Jones, 29th to 13th as well. Peter Cowan, 26th to 14th. A lot of big movement. Probably the biggest, though, Chris Morris, 42nd to 17th. That is up a whopping 21 places. So, no, that is up 25 places. Nice movement, Chris. Back at the sharp end, we had a bit of a bump there from Halliburton coming out the last corner. And that allowed Adam Miles to gain about a metre or two of distance to the car in front. So, potentially a small growth road advantage, but not a lot. Maybe we're starting to see the edges of cracking happening now at Ken Halliburton. Ewan Patterson still very much in their mirrors now, growing bigger and bigger with every lap they do. Coming now out onto NASCAR 1 and 2 for the banking. We're seeing a definite closing now by Patterson, who's right now almost equidistant with the two leaders. So the gap's starting to become a lot more equal. Are we starting to see Halliburton and Miles slow down, or is Patterson just speeding up? Hard to tell right now looking at the lap times, but last time by Adam Miles to 129.9. So definitely some draft impact, and Patterson, as Miles gets the lead. Where did that come from? Oh, big dive there into the chicane. For some reason, that did not show up on my screen. Not sure why that happened, but big dive by Miles there. First lead change of the race, and now all three on top of each other here after that bottled them up. I was going to look at lap times, and I was going to see Patterson 29.5, and Miles is a 29.4. So very, very similar. 29.95 and 9.4, I should say. Oh, contact! Oh, round goes Halliburton. Impact. Oh, massive impact there. Oh my gosh, we're going to replay for you right now. Slow down by Miles out of the corner. Halliburton makes contact, gets turned sideways. Impact by Patterson. And out of nowhere, John Cena later. Terrible pun, I apologize. Claire Hughes gets demolished by that car. Oh my gosh, huge impact. That is 3 of your leaders now out of contention. Nope, didn't think I saw that one coming. Actually, that one I definitely didn't see coming. But Simon Edwards now definitely gets to get more points than Hughes, I guess, so he's going to be happy. That was largely unexpected. I don't think Miles took any damage from that impact to the rear wheel, but certainly might have seemed fortuitous after he had 2 cars on top of him just before taking the lead. Now he is all over the thing. Patterson somehow got away with this one. Lucky he has no damage from what we're saying. I can see a slight bend. No, nose damage, sorry. I'm getting nose damage in my ear, which I took as no damage because of accidents, but some slight nose damage there and wing damage for Patterson's car. Behind him, you can see there, I believe that's Fielder coming up to probably take 2nd place here, most likely. That would be a big advantage for him and a great result for Fielder. That will put Simon Edwards into 4th provisionally. And if he can even catch up, maybe the chance of a podium for Edwards after a poor qualifying. Fielder gets through on Patterson there as they're coming through to the final stretch, and up to the inside comes Patterson again, so he's fighting back. Damaged, but able to fight back, so the car handling well, just aero slow as they go into turn 1, and he really tried to mount a defense, but I just don't think he has anything to offer in this circumstance. 3-second gap between Miles and Fielder, unless he crashes. Adam Miles is taking this one home here on lap 11. We've got 9 laps to go. Simon Edwards, his gap has come down by about a whole second now, so Edwards realistically looking like he's very much in the picture here. He's about 1.5 seconds away from Patterson and Fielder, so potentially taking 2nd place is on the table here for former champion Simon Edwards, so that'll be very exciting to see how that one plays out. Miles entering the back straight now from NASCAR 2. Fielder and Patterson on top of each other, but Patterson dropping back slowly, so Edwards is going to catch him pretty quickly. That will give him a draft toe, pull him close to Fielder, so this is probably the perfect storm we've seen for Simon Edwards. Chris Robertson is back in 5th place. He's been coming on, but he's not really gained as much time. Lee Anderson up into 6th place now from 12th. He's gained a few spots. Brilliant running by him and Watson. They got past O'Leary as well. So the race moving forwards at rapid pace. A couple of cars passing one of the lap machines down there. Got Jack Hobbs and Anthony Jones coming through the chicane now. Bit of curb hopping from these guys. It seems like the car's not very settled when they got onto those big NASCAR curbing. Coming now, we've got passing opportunity here for PM Jones on Hobbs. He gets through before the chicane. Through and onto the start finish line. That'll move him up to 9th place now. Nice move by Anthony PM Jones. Zara Streeter, 25th to 15th right now. Running comfortably in that position, actually. Currently about to come on to the end of lap 11 onto 12. Car behind her is Tony Stack. There's a lap car there as well. Paul Kerry and Bob Strong in that group. Darren C. Morris there. Bit of contact actually with Darren. And Patrick Lofus, Neil Stevenson. Bit of 2 wide there into turn 1 from these two. As Lofus will get the move done on the 37 machine of... So Strong will get the move done on Lofus, I should say. Looking back towards the front, we'll see what's going on here as we now have a definite battle happening. Simon Edwards right on the back of Ewan Patterson here. Patterson's been very strong in terms of performance. He lets Edwards go. He knows his car can't compete, so he very graciously gets out of the way. Respectful driving there by Ewan Patterson. Tried to fight Fielder, knew he couldn't do it. Gave the spot to Edwards as behind him another lap car coming along there. Fielder's gap has increased a bit with the traffic, but we'll see whether or not we can see Edwards catch that. Edwards now in a podium spot, 3rd place here. Will he be able to get 2nd? It's possible, but he's still 4.9 seconds back. He has not gained. Edwards last time by 129.850. Fielder 130.296. So he is a couple of tenths faster, but he's got almost a 1.5 seconds to catch. So that is still a lot of time. Matt Cox having onto pit road actually there. Matt Cox having to either get fuel, perhaps came in a little bit light to this race. Not sure what he was on pit road for, but we'll find out. It's definitely not a tyre change. We don't do that in this series. The races are too short. But Cox will have dropped himself down the order here as he's now running around the 21, who I'm trying to locate on the racetrack is Tim Adcock, so he's down a lap, so it's hard to tell exactly where he's come out now relative to those drives. We've got racing around Hobbs, TPM Jones and Hobbs, just through the back straight chicane. Coming into NASCAR 3 and 4 now. PM Jones still will hold that position ahead. O'Leary, actually, no, that was O'Leary he got past. I do apologize. I thought it was still Jack Hobbs he was racing with, but no, it's O'Leary, so move him up another spot to 8th place there. Anthony PM Jones, one of our biggest climber this race, I think, at this point in time. He's going to be up approximately, no, not the biggest, but definitely still one of the big ones. 21 positions for Anthony PM Jones so far in this event. First person from outside the top 20 to get inside the top 10 so far. Simon Edwards last time by 130.195. Fielder a 130.2. So almost identical laps to the 1,000th variation, maybe 10 hundredths of difference. So not gaining at all here. And they're on lap 14. 19 total. We're on 5 to go territory. I don't think there's much expectation without a mistake that Fielder will be caught. So Fielder and Miles looking like a pretty comfortable run so far. 3.3 seconds from Miles to Fielder. The leader, as long as he doesn't get involved with any lap traffic or make a solo mistake, is looking very strong in this one. Some racing here with O'Leary and Jones. Once again on the racetrack, back straight there. O'Leary trying to come back up the inside. PM Jones on the outside will get past him nice and safely. Good enough for the turn-in. O'Leary still looking for an opportunity, but not quite able to get it as they really hopped her Skippys on the curbing. Doing their best to keep it moving. No real draft potential on these straights we've seen so far, or the corners even. The straights even, there's been no real major draft suck-up we've seen with the car so far in this race, so perhaps not how it's wanting to behave under these conditions, or the track simply isn't long enough. The cars maybe because the track is so big. Skippys tend to get an issue of where they're hitting their rev limiter, which could be a factor, which means that once you get within a certain distance of a car, you aren't going to go any faster. Behind him, O'Leary's still coming now, right behind PM Jones, filling those mirrors with race car. PM Jones there, we have some contact. Oh, things have definitely spiced up now as they headed into the infield. And I don't know why this happens, but sometimes when cars head into certain places, I have to rewind to them. I can't see them, so I do apologize. I can't tell you exactly what happened there. But we know PM Jones went around, and he had contact with O'Leary, and the wheel has come off after he slid into the wall there. In fact, live, so I saw him just bounce off the wall. So some issues with contact there. As Chris Robertson slides off the track and actually drops down onto the infield. Had a bit of a moment, rejoins in front of a lap car, so no real problem for him. Still ahead of Mick Watson. Ewan Patterson dropping back even further, still holding on to fourth for now. He has about 3 seconds till Chris Robertson catches up, and after that slide, that may be a little bit, just about enough time. We'll have to see. His last time by was a 31.3. Chris Robertson a 30.9, so he is catching. And Simon Edwards last time 30 dead to Fielder's 30.6. So Edwards actually now at this point of the race is catching Fielder. That was more than half a second last time, so he is right on this game now. And we are starting to see this one come down. It's under a second, which is the magic number. He's within that draft window now, which will give him the opportunity to catch up here and possibly get a pass done. So it could be a second place finish for Simon Edwards, which is probably not what he expected in this race. Eric started 7th and really being back there until issues happen for drivers, but we'll have to see how this one unfolds. A little bit of late race fatigue perhaps. Lap 16 we're on. Adam Miles quietly doing laps. He's running down the back straight now towards the chicane. A pretty quiet end to his lap. He will have 3 laps to go once he crosses the line this time by. 3 laps remaining for your race leader. And not a problem in sight. Nearly 4 seconds on Michael Fielder. That is huge. Miles' last lap was a 30.3. So right now, Edwards lapping faster than your leader. But as I used to believe when I was still racing, there is no point in having a 20-second gap over second place if you burn your tyres off and end up getting caught. I always used to hold the belief that it was best to have about a 1-second gap to the car in second place and maintain it, even if that meant you drove slower than you could potentially, because you save more of the car for when you need it. Let them burn their car up trying to chase you down. As long as you just hold a gap ahead of them, you're good to go. So looking at how he's been running so far, I think Adam Miles is in fact 95%. I think he's running the car to what he needs to, because the gap really hasn't risen all race. He is not pushing. He has no need to push. Maintain a constant pace and just let the car ride. Keep an eye on that relative to the car behind you and just log the laps. Safest way to race and win races by just keeping more of the car intact. Speaking of which, Simon Edwards right now on the back here of Fielder, lap car ahead of them. This might actually provide a little bit of a relief tow to Fielder on NASCAR 1 and 2's banking, but Edwards closing up even faster. Heading into the back straight chicane now. A bit of a skip there by Fielder. Lap car gets the heck out of dodge, as Edwards still gaining ever so more. Probably not going to do it into the chicane, although they might. They're too wide with the lap car there. I was hoping he might consider 3 wide. It would be nice to see some 3 wide on the banking of Charlotte, but heading into the chicane now, and Fielder goes for a very aggressive wide entry there, getting pretty close to the grass, in fact. Trying to keep as much speed as he can through that chicane before they head up towards start-finish, and the 3 to go marker. 2 to go, I do apologise. Simon Edwards getting closer and closer. Last time by Edwards, a 30.3. Fielder, a 30.4, so about a 1/10 of a second difference there on the racetrack. So he's still coming, and the bigger he gets in those mirrors, the more nervous Fielder's going to get. The more he races out the back of his car, the less he'll race out the front, so mistakes are more likely to happen. O'Leary now in 8th place. Unfortunately, PM Jones dropped down to 9th after that collision. But he is back now racing with Thomas O'Leary, trying his hardest to get through here. And he's right there. So close. Bit of nose damage, in fact, on that car. Some sidepod damage on O'Leary. So 2 wounded birds doing their best here. And PM Jones all low for the car of O'Leary. Trying to find a way through on this one. Trying to get that position back and get back into 8th place. Jack Hobbs actually closing in behind them. Not going to be close enough, though. Adam Miles got lap traffic ahead of him. In fact, lap traffic racing 2 wide, so he's going to be just chilling. Not perhaps worrying too much about getting close to this one. He'll be going to the final lap for him here as Edwards has gotten past Fielder, sorry. That was in the lap back straight. No, it was actually coming out of NASCAR 2. Fielder goes up the track to get the entry for the chicane, and well, Edwards says, thank you very much. I'll go up the inside, take a shallow entry, and slide on through. Simon Edwards moved him up to 2nd place from 7th on the grid. Going on to that final lap now. Adam Miles coming through that lap traffic. I think that would be Mod Kiko. He's just gotten past there, who was lapping in 21st place. Now 1 lap down. Ahead of her, it's going to be Darren Morris. He's getting off the racetrack, although it's a very bad place to do it because you're on grass. You can't really turn on grass. That tends to go horribly wrong as they're side by side now, as O'Leary and Jones side by side here running through the infield. PM Jones goes to the inside. A very late dive there up the inside. Washed out, nearly collected O'Leary. That could have been horrible, as it's going to be a clear run from Miles. Simon Edwards is coming up behind. The gaps come down because Miles has been very gentle around the lap traffic, but Mod Kiko says, I'm not getting anywhere near the way of this fight. I'm just going to go straight across the chicane, stay high, stay out of the way. As we're probably looking at about 3 seconds across the line here, as we'll come now through to this last moment. I'll keep my eye here on O'Leary, but the gap has opened up. O'Leary has a good, decent, maybe 2nd gap. As Adam Miles through the final chicane, he will come and across the line to win here, round number 4 at Charlotte Roval. 2nd place will come in to Simon Edwards, and Michael Fielder comes across with a podium in 3rd place. Just behind them, O'Leary is... Oh, it's coming in now. PM Jones up the inside of O'Leary. Gets it done just at the last second as they're going to come out of NASCAR 4. Anti-PM Jones, come on, can O'Leary find a way in here? Is he going to dive him in? He does dive hard. Big dive, contact. O'Leary goes through, just about cutting off PM Jones, and that's the sort of pass to take a position that will end up with drivers having a little chat after the race with each other. Bold but successful for Thomas O'Leary there. Oh, we're going to go to a quick commercial break. We will be back with the post-race results and our interviews, so stay tuned.
The most realistic online racing sim ever made. This is iRacing. Detailed laser scan tracks, fully dynamic real world cars, and over 50 series to choose from. 6 online world championships offering over $400,000 in annual prizes. This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
Coming up to the line, being chased, and it was Brayden Johnson. Unbelievable finish. It was 1/1000th of a second between them.
Green flag in the air. We are racing in the 2020 24 Hours of Daytona.
They go door to door for the feature race lead here on the last lap of the race. Side by side for the race lead in the final corner at Homestead.
Down the back straightaway, 3 wide again for the race lead. This is unbelievable stuff here tonight.
Loma is going to have to be very deep on the brakes, and he is very deep on the brakes. It's side by side through the corner. This is for the win.
It'll be Davies side by side. Davies low, Ottinger high. To the very inside is Garrett Lowe. 4 wide at the stripe.
For all his work here on this outside line, neck and neck. Who's going to back out? Does anyone back out?
Verstappen starts to squeeze on the inside, and now he'll try and straight line it. Goes under the apron, drag race to the line. It's so close to call.
Simulated racing can be awesome, but it can also be kind of a free-for-all. Interestingly, auto racing faced the same problem in its earlier days. Whether it was on the back roads, the beaches, or the city streets, the racing was always fun. But there was always a certain level of chaos or danger, until some folks came along and put some order to all of this. Stuff like official racetracks, regulations about weight and equipment, and enforcement of standards. That's what gave us high-speed excitement, fast-paced action, and photo finishes. That's when racing became racing. The guys over at iRacing.com have made the same transformation in the world of sim racing. See, iRacing analyzes the performance and results of each driver in every race, so you can be sure you're always placed in races where the competition will be tight, and that those reckless drivers who ruin it for us all will be kept in the pits. Not to mention that with members in over 130 countries already in their vast community, you can find races day and night, so you can always get in the action. You can even join a league of your favorite series and work your way up to one of 7 world championships, offering over $500,000 in prize money. And since updates are always automatic, you don't have to worry about software and can focus on the track. Zip up your fire suit and check out iRacing.com.
Welcome back to Charlotte Road Speedway in round number 4 of Monday Night Skippys, and we're going to go straight to your post-race results. Coming home with a win today, Adam Miles takes victory at Charlotte with Simon Edwards in second place, Michael Fiedler in third. I got it right this time after I finally realised that's how it's spelled. Chris Robertson and Ewan Patterson there in top 5. Mick Watson, Lee Anderson and Thomas O'Leary with Anthony P.M. Jones in 9th, Jack Hobbs in 10th. Behind them is Peter Cowan, Christopher Miles, Matt Cox, Clark Williams, Zara Streeter, Tony Stack, Neil Stevenson, Bob Strong, Darren C. Morris, and Alan Patterson running at your top 20 and lead lap cars. Rest of those results on your screen as Simon Edwards joins us today. This was a bit of a marathon, wasn't it, Simon? From 7th on the grid and a hard slog through to a unimagined podium, possibly? Oh, he turns up early for once, so he's not actually here. Well, I'll tell you what I will answer for Simon Edwards. Well, yeah, Rachel, I think it was definitely a race I wasn't perhaps expecting to finish too highly. Are you back yet? He's not back yet, no. Well, I mean, I've never qualified very well here before, but it was a good race and I quite enjoyed it, and I think I was pretty slow. I don't know how I got second place. I mean, I only have 7,000 die rating. I don't know how I go fast in this car.
I'm back.
Oh, he's back! Finally! Here we go! I've been answering for you, so we can just leave it at that, or you can actually give your actual answer when I ask you. How was the race for you? It seemed like a bit of a marathon out there that didn't seem to have a podium in sight until suddenly there was one.
Yeah, definitely.
I hope you heard none of that interview I just gave for you.
No, I did. It's my turned my wheel off like an idiot because it was beeping, and of course I've got the button on the wheel, haven't I? So I couldn't talk to you. Yeah, I screwed up qualifying completely. I should have been up there in first or second or third top at worst. And then I ended up fighting with Thomas, I think. And like you say, I didn't think there was going to be any chance of getting up there. And then I just saw parts flying everywhere through the last chicane. I did pick a bit of damage from Ewan's nose popping off and hitting me on the front wing, but apart from that, nothing. And then I managed to just creep up on Michael. And then I got a lucky break with the back markers. He gave me a tow away from him, so he couldn't come back for me on the last lap. But congratulations to Adam. Obviously, he's qualified well and he's raced well and he's managed to win it. You'll have to
Certainly
tell me
has.
what happened in the race, though.
I will. There were cars, and they went fast, and several of them exploded.
Yeah, I saw the
That's basically
exploding
it.
bit. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for joining us, Simon. We made sure we ran an extra long advert this time so we could get a chance to talk to you and hear your dulcet tones. So thank you for joining us. Congratulations on second place today from 7th on the grid. And where are we off to next week?
You'll have to remind me. Is it VIR?
It might be. I hadn't checked. I was hoping you'd answer for me so I could know and sound like I knew where we were going next week. It might be VIR, it might not, but I can guarantee you it will be a racetrack. Thanks for
I'm
watching.
pretty sure it's VIR.